Thank you for your inspiring words and initial recommendations. And now we are going to give the floor to 3 different organizations who are going to give a testimony of their experience in working in partnership and in working in addressing roadblocks. So first I would like to call Jean Perret from Nespresso.
So good afternoon. I'm Jean Perez, working for Nespresso, and I'm here with a very important Nespresso partner, Juan Carlos Ardila, running a cooperative of coffee farmers in Colombia for us, and he will give some interesting, pragmatic example of what we have been doing together on the field. So, leveraging businesses for conservation. We believe that the roadblocks are coming from the fact that we are all different missions. The conservation movement have the mission to protect biodiversity and ecosystem, and businesses have the mission to create value and to create loyal consumers, and to give value to the consumers. So the challenge for us is to see how we can integrate these different missions. And the purpose of this presentation is not to go through all the roadblocks, and you saw in the previous presentation that there is a lot and it can be a very complex topic. So we selected few of the roadblocks we believe that we are able to address at Nespresso through collaboration, working with partners, and we are going to give you some testimony how we manage that. So the first roadblock we selected is coming from the farm, for example. The farmers, sometimes very small farmers are thinking we have always done and produced in that way. So why we would change the way we have been producing for years? And so in the company and with the support of our farmers, the company implemented a specific program called AAA, and this program aimed to integrate in a comprehensive way with supporting tools the different dimensions that we believe are important to solve the issues on sustainability. And this program is integrating quality, sustainability, and productivity, supported by a set of instruments. And we are also supporting some initiatives that are proving that we can produce differently and in a more sustainable way. And perhaps, Juan Carlos, you can explain what kind of project we are developing to do that.
Yes. We have one very clear example in Colombia. When you talk about farmers being a roadblock, we have the following case. The farmers of coffee in Colombia, which are supplies to Nespresso, are very small, 2.5 hectares, which is the average also of coffee worldwide and cocoa as well. And they process the coffee at home, at their own farm. They use a lot of water. We have 500,000 like that. So we made a little project whereby we chose about 150 of them and challenged to think differently. We had to wait, since the idea was launched, we had to wait 5 years just to remove the objections. There was a list of objections of why we couldn't do central milling, central processing. Finally, we managed to build, this was done in 16 weeks, but took 5 years to just get everyone aligned. We built this facility in 16 weeks with the help of Nespresso and some other stakeholders, international cooperation and so on. And now we have a community that saw so many benefits, saving 4 million liters of water that are not being used. All the water was polluted, now it's not. The rejection rate, the quality improved, so it's not illusion of premium, so there was increased economic gains for the people. People have free time. It's an avalanche of benefits that force people to think differently Nespresso was the initiator, put the challenge, forced people to think differently, and now these farmers are part of the solution. The roadblock was removed, and everyone wants a central mill like this in Colombia. We have one. This will probably start changing the way we treat the coffee. And this is directly connected to environmental impact, social and economic output in the farms. So, very interesting case. We have a poster downstairs for those who want to know more. But we put the farmer in the bandwagon, and instead of being a roadblock, participating, and now we have the path clear to scale up. We are finished measuring the impact and so on, but the idea is to scale up this solution.
Thank you, Antonio. Another roadblock we identify is the consumer. Nespresso is a coffee company, so we are selling coffee. And when we are drinking a coffee, it's because we want to make a break. And we don't want to have our coffee with a lot of questions behind that about the sustainability, the environment, etc. The consumer want a break. But again, what we learn is that with sustainability, it's also possible to give to the consumer a new experience. Also by drinking a coffee. And again, I can give the floor to Juan Carlos to explain what kind of new experiences we can bring to the farmers, to the consumers, sorry, by innovating and by integrating the sustainability within the way of producing the coffee.
Thank you. So here, regarding the consumer, what we did was Nespresso introduced a lot of new practices. We have to change the way we did almost everything in the last 10 years. It was a big challenge that we took as farmers. We harvest differently, plant differently, store differently. We do everything differently. It was not imposed. We worked like 3 years before building together from both top, bottom, and bottom up with the support of our Rainforest Alliance, the codes of conduct and good practices. And then we started seeing an improvement of quality that was tremendous. Then the idea came, Nespresso is being recognized as the leader in quality portion coffee worldwide. And we started having such an improvement in quality that it was worth to create a new product. So there was a launch of a capsule called Jana in a limited edition last year. That was a big success for Nespresso. And another one which was called Nahora that was launched this year. So these two products were possible because of the AAA program. So at the end, these investments in sustainability became a competitive advantage for Nespresso to be able to be in the forefront of innovation and create products that are not only sustainable but have high complexity in terms of quality, because the consumers say, give me a break, but they continue being demanding. And especially in the case of Nespresso, consumers are highly discerning consumers that don't negotiate the quality. So at a certain point in time, Nespresso was exhausting the complexity of the coffee, and with this, the ceiling was broken and opened a complete new frontier through best practices in sustainability to accessing what we call the coffees of the 22nd century that they now are sourcing because they have the forefront and the cutting edge of the qualities. Very high complexity coffees that benefit the farmers but the consumers. So we believe that, Nespresso, we believe that with this type of approach, sustainability becomes a very interesting and appealing tool for consumers, and then remove that roadblock again. So people is directly concerned on their daily consumption patterns with sustainability, with something more than an ideological connection, but a real day-to-day connection with the product and the practices.
So again, for this roadblock, bringing together quality and sustainability with which is in a certain way the challenge that Nespresso decided to address, is showing that we can give also really strong benefit to the consumer, and the consumer that can improve the experience, and the quality is the quality of the product connected with sustainability is really important if we want to make progress on sustainability. Another roadblock is of course coming from the company, because sometimes companies think that why should I invest on this if the consumer is not able to pay for that, and I will not have any payback. And what we have learned at Nespresso, based on this experience of integrating sustainability and quality and always trying to improve the quality of the product, also through sustainability, is that yes, there is a payback. And the results we are receiving now are really encouraging and showing that, for example, in the company, if we take the result from the total club members in the company, consumers in the company who would recommend Nespresso, we have an average of 55%. And the reality is that the consumers aware of the collaboration program and what the company has been doing with other partners through the AAA on the field would recommend Nespresso at 65%, which is highly significant, and is showing that yes, for the company, or for companies, there is a payback by supporting on sustainability, with of course a direct relation with biodiversity protection and ecosystem. And the last roadblock we selected is also the conservation movement, which is thinking that business are not interested. And again, this partnership, this unique partnership that Rainforest Alliance and Nespresso started 10 years ago, is showing that it's not the case. And if we want to remove this roadblock, it's by working together, by having the NGOs and the business working together to try to address this complex challenge. And here, for 10 years now, Rainforest and Nespresso have been working on the field with partners, with people like Juan Carlos and the cooperative of farmers, and of course the farmers. Today in the program we have more than 50,000 farmers, which represent more than 200,000 hectares of coffee managed or integrated in a sustainable program. And we are trying also to connect the club members with the farmers, because it's by addressing this together that we will be able to achieve this challenge. Thank you very much.
So I'd like to invite Paul Laird from Earthwatch. Thank you. We will have time for question and answer afterwards, but we decided that was to take all the presentations together, so you can have a better pool for your questions.
Hello, my name is Paul Laird. I work for Earthwatch Institute. I'm going to be quite brief, I think, because I really appreciated what I've heard so far, and I think what I've heard so far is really the mainstream of the some of the good approaches for removing roadblocks to scaling up business involvement in biodiversity conservation. And I'm going to talk about something a little bit different and just give you some brief ideas on something perhaps which is a bit of a different angle. Firstly, just to say a word about Earthwatch, we support scientific research and biodiversity conservation research around the world, and we engage the public, non-scientists in that research, and in terms of scaling up, we work with major companies, a great range of partners, who send large numbers of their staff to work with us and with our scientists on these projects. HSBC, more than 2,500 of their staff have been involved in our programs. Shell, for example, more than 500 of their staff have been involved in our programs. I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. It's a relatively newer initiative called Business Skills Transfer for Protected Area Management. And I'd like to acknowledge the support of Shell, UNESCO and Shell Foundation. Roadblock, in terms of a challenge that we face here, protected area management is absolutely a cornerstone of international efforts to conserve biodiversity. Increasing numbers of protected areas, more than 100,000 worldwide. It's a huge part of the land surface is under protected area management. Important not just for conservation, but also for a whole multitude of other aspects, climate regulation, livelihoods, well-being. So absolutely key, essential for biodiversity conservation. However, the mere setting up of protected areas does not ensure that these will be effective and result in effective biodiversity conservation. There's a global study carried out in 2010 on management effectiveness in protected areas. Found that up to 40% of protected areas are ineffectively managed, and lack of staff training and capacity was identified as one of the big areas. I won't go into the details here. I quoted from the CBD on some of the barriers to effective management of protected areas, but what we noticed